Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of More to Explore, where today we are revealing the top 10 moments of 2025 that you voted for. I would say good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening if you're in South Africa, where we're watching the live cam from Tembe here. And if you're new to Explore, my name is Brian Bird, and joining me is Explore.org's resident naturalist, Mike Fitz. Mike, good afternoon to you.
Hey, hello. I'm glad to be here. And thanks to everybody who's tuning in with us live right now. If you're new to explore.org, welcome to the community and welcome back to all of our longtime viewers. We're the world's largest live nature cam network. I think at the beginning of the year, Brian, we had, I don't know, 180 live cams or something. I think we're close to about 200 now. Is that right?
Yeah, I think this year was a big year for adding cams. We added something like 15 cameras this year. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so we have about 200 cameras. There's always something to watch. And we're starting with the Tembe Elephant Park here because that's going to lead into our first moment of the year coming up in just a second. Uh, so we're going to revisit the 10 most popular moments on Explore.org's social media channels in 2025. These each originated from footage captured by our live viewers. But then, Brian, we had to choose the moments. And how was that done?
Yeah, so we took the top 20 performing moments all across the social media platforms from Explore.org, and then viewers voted for their favorites, and now we get to reveal the top 10.
And as we proceed through the countdown today, we want to know which live cam moment stood out to you. So, what were the most meaningful moments that you witnessed on Explore.org in 2025? Maybe it's one on our list, perhaps it's not. But either way, let us know in the comments. We're really curious about that. And we're going to try to share some of those later in the broadcast. Brian, at number 10 on the list is a moment that we both hoped would make the countdown.
I'm super excited that it did make it. Coming in at number 10, we had the python that took, a bigger bite than it can chew for sure.
Yes. So we saw this in early February. The footage comes to you from South Africa on the Tembe cam. And it was a life and death saga between a python and an impala, which did not turn out well for either. The python was not able to finish its meal, and we're going to talk about why. So let's look at this footage right here. This is about 4 hours after the python killed the impala. The python is eating the impala head first, which is the usual way for a snake to eat its prey. The python has jaws that separate from their normal position. It's not a dislocation. It's more of like connective tissue, or just able to stretch and separate. And then their skin is flexing considerably at the same time. So it can consume something that's bigger in diameter than its head. The python ran into a problem, though, because after it swallowed the impala's head, the impala's horns pierced the python. And you can see that in this footage right here. The discomfort, that's to put it mildly. I mean, the pain, the sheer pain that the python the python was experiencing must have been unbearable. It realized that it was unable to continue eating and had to regurgitate the impala's neck and head. And in certain parts of this clip, you could even see the contours of the impala's head in the python's body. The snake was able to eventually free itself, of course, not without injury. Rangers from the Tembe Elephant Park found it nearby. They decided to rescue the snake and take it to a rehab clinic to recover, and it was later released back into the wild. I want to thank the staff at the Tembe Elephant Park for their work, and of course the staff at Africam for partnering with us to bring you this footage. It had pretty much everything: life, death, pain, hunger, struggle, strength. It was all on display in this instance. So that's number 10 on our list. The live, unedited, real-life nature captured on Explore.org's webcams give us the opportunity to watch a full spectrum of animal behaviors. Certainly, the difficulties that animals face are part of the story, and we have several moments related to that concept later in the program. But we're also witness to the incredible abundance of life on Earth. Brian, and I think our next moment is a reflection of that.
Definitely. Coming in at number 9, we're talking about the abundance of salmon that were here at Katmai National Park. It was just insane how many there were and for how long the run was.
That's right. Yeah, and this moment, it just wasn't based on this clip, for instance. Although the footage that was shared throughout social media, it made what people saw, especially popular and engaging. But this moment, so to speak, is a culmination of the totality of the early summer salmon runs at Brooks River in Katmai National Park, Alaska. We had seen big runs of salmon here before, but not like this. From early July until nearly the middle of August, sockeye salmon filled the river from bank to bank, from the bridge at the river mouth all the way upstream to the falls. I don't know why salmon were so abundant this year. Brooks River is part of the larger Naknek River watershed, which is one of several major river basins of Bristol Bay and Southwest Alaska. The number of salmon that entered the Naknek River, as counted by staff with the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, and they're doing this outside of the national park, but they counted a merely average salmon run into the Naknek River. And that's in comparison to the last 50 years of salmon runs. In the water at Brooks River, however, it was nothing but nothing was average, I should say, just to back up a little bit. It was amazing. It was incredible. It was exceptional. There were times when the river seemed to hold more fish than water. A moment in our top 5 showcases an example of how the abundance of fish affected brown bears at the river, and we'll talk about that later. But Bristol Bay and the region's abundant salmon really should be our baseline for healthy watersheds, fisheries, and salmon runs. So I think we should use this moment, this footage, as something that we should never forget. Let's never forget images like this, and let's work so that our oceans and the freshwater areas alike are filled with healthy populations of fish. Brian, the abundance of salmon at Brooks River produced some incredibly fat bears too, and our next moment also takes place at Brooks River.
Definitely. Coming in at number 8, we have 909 does the holly scratch, which was, a very popular viral clip from previous years, but 909 does it perfectly.
She absolutely does. So yeah, this is bear 909 here. She's an adult female at Brooks River. She really seemed to enjoy a good scratch in this clip. And I think this moment resonated with a lot of people for a couple of reasons. One is that we can all relate to the urge to scratch an itch, especially an itch that is particularly bothersome. The second reason is what you mentioned, Brian. It's maybe something that a longtime bear camp fans can relate to, and that's 909's effort looks just like a move that bear 435 Holly perfected a few years ago. Anytime a bear does this in the future, I think I'm going to call it the Holly maneuver after the bear who we first saw performing it. So it's just mirror images of one another. We don't think that these bears are related at all. They didn't have any family history together. It's just one of those things that bears are doing. But cool to see, fun to watch. And 909 is a bear who is well positioned to return to Brooks River with cubs in 2026. So she was really fat at the end of the year. Body fat has a positive effect on reproductive success in female brown bears. And the fatter they are in the fall, the more likely they are to give birth in the den during winter. So for 909, that might be as soon as mid-January. We did want to ask, or we were asking people who, or if you had a favorite moment from the cams earlier this year. Just reading through the comments real quick. Scraps 2357 said the best moment was the first time I saw a Chunk successfully eating with his broken jaw. Chunk's part of our countdown, so we're going to talk about that a little bit later for sure. And then on Explorador, Glass Interrupted wrote in and said, I voted for the moose on the loose. And what was your pick, Mike? We will, Brian and I were going to talk about our picks a little bit later on, aren't we, Brian? But that's for just a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll get there in just a little bit. But first, let's get to our top 7 moment.
Yes, and this one was amazing to watch because animal births are some of the most special and joyous moments that we could see on Explorador. And Brian, who among us could say that they had ever seen a cheetah give birth until earlier this year?
Yeah, I couldn't, and nobody I know has, for sure.
So yeah, on April 30, Tammy the cheetah gave birth to 3 cubs. And I was fascinated by this because I've never seen a big cat give birth, let alone a cheetah. And this was an experience typically reserved for, zookeepers or caretakers. But we got to share this moment live through the webcams. And Tammy was able to successfully raise her cubs. Cheetahs are a critically endangered species with perhaps less than 7,500 individuals left in the wild, along with threats like poaching, habitat loss, and reduced prey numbers in certain areas. Their populations can also suffer from a genetic isolation and inbreeding. The Hood-Sprayed Endangered Species Center rears captive bred cheetahs so they can be released eventually into the wild. And they focus on maintaining genetic diversity in cheetahs so that wild populations are healthy and robust. So that's kind of one of their signature initiatives. And where is the family now, though? Kirsten from Africam informed me on Saturday that Tammy and her cubs are still at the Hood-Sprayed Endangered Species Center. They've been moved to a bigger boma, and the boma is just, I think, the South African term for a corral or an enclosure. They have been separated recently, though, because Tammy was showing signs of needing her own space. And the cubs are in a new enclosure and reportedly doing well. So yeah, this was amazing to see them grow and play. We were able to watch them give birth, and seeing young animals grow and develop is a special experience that we can get through the webcams, Brian. And our next moment is also one related to that experience.
Definitely. Coming in at number 6, we have the moment from the sauces next, the Betty Lou fledging.
It's always memorable for me to witness a bird take flight for the first time in its life. The sense of freedom and perhaps maybe even trepidation that a young bird experiences in that moment must be tremendous. If I could become a bird for just a moment and experience just one thing in their life, I think it would be the first flight, even if it was one that was just like a crash landing. I think that would just be so amazing to sit there on a nest overlooking, a canyon or something and just take off. We wanted to mention this moment, but not examine it closely right now because it is tied to a moment that's higher on the list. And learning about that moment in our top 5 will help us better understand why Betty Lou's fledge was so memorable for so many people. We were fortunate enough to see birds take their first flights from eagle nests every year on Explode.org, but it has been a long road for the parents at this nest to raise a chick to an age where it can fledge. So we'll talk about that in detail a little bit later on. We have a few memorable moments coming in from our webcam audience as well. Oso Negro on YouTube is writing in 32 and 503 playing above the falls. Left me with my mouth open. Yeah, we got to see 2 gigantic big adult males play fighting and wrestling at the falls. And that was pretty incredible to see. So keep those moments coming. Let us know what your favorite moments were. If they're in the top 10 or not, doesn't matter. We're really curious about that. And Brian, we also wanted to mention some honorable mentions from the contest page comments, because people were writing in and they're like, oh, I wish I could have voted on this. I wish I could have voted on that. And Wasatch wrote in and nominated basically anything puppy related from the Warrior Canine Connection cams.
Yeah, you really can't beat it. Even this clip of just like the little puppy dreams, the little tiny big stretches. You can't have a bad day.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and if you need like a break from the stress of the world or something, or just like the garbage, again, that's on television, you're at a holiday party, put on a puppy cam or something like that. And these are future service dogs that will be trained to help military veterans on the Warrior Canine Connection. They currently have 2 litters of puppies to watch. So go check it out right now. Really cool to see. And then Stilling wrote in and mentioned the hammerhead shark that we caught a glimpse of at Utopia Village in Honduras. And this one is hard to see, Brian. You mentioned that you had to watch it several times, and I had to as well. Where would you describe the hammerhead as?
Yeah, I had to watch it a couple of times, but if you look kind of at the center level of the left side of the screen there, I'll see if I can get it right here. You'll see it passing by right there. Pretty elusive, but it is a very cool moment to see.
Yeah, I had to watch this many times before I got a glimpse of it. But left of center, behind sort of like the main group of coral, there's like a little passageway in there, and that's where the shark swims by So yeah, that was really neat to see. The Utopia Village cams are beautiful. They're spectacular cameras. One of those cameras that I go to if I'm looking for something to watch. I go there frequently. Lots of sharks throughout different times of the day too, especially at night. So check it out. And then finally, an honorable mention came from M. Selby, who wrote in the resurrection of Cheetah, who is an eagle at the West End nest on Catalina Island. And to kind of understand why this is memorable, this year we witnessed two new eagles, Makayo and Haku, displace the former resident pair. The male on this nest, Akicheta, and the Thunder, the female. They had been on this territory for a long, long time, and then these other birds came in and kind of kicked them out and kicked them around as well. And when we last saw Akicheta, he was bloodied from losing his battle with Makayo, and we didn't know if he would survive. He did, though. If eagles are anything, they are tough and resilient. I don't know if he's reestablished his claim on the West End nest, excuse me, territory fully, but cam viewers noted him hanging out with the territory's new female, Haku, just yesterday, December 14. So nesting season for the eagles is just beginning on Exploded.org, so be sure to watch the West End cam to see how this drama unfolds. And Brian, every year when we do this program, we like to highlight a moment that we've found personally memorable. Remember Glass Interrupted was asking us about that just a few minutes ago. So yeah, what's your moment, Brian?
With all the new cams, I was excited to see one returning this year, which was the Great Gray Owl Nest in Montana with Owl Research Institute. And just the way that they positioned this camera, in the tree to get this shot, it's like just the image quality was beautiful. And being able to see, like this with the two owlets, and they both fledged, super just success story, an absolutely beautiful image to see.
This was really incredible to watch. And these are some of the largest owls in North America. It's kind of hard to tell just how big these birds are. But Brian, the footage was so clear that people were accusing us of faking it, weren't they?
Right. I think, if there was ever a cam where we were, accused of doing AI generative videos of wildlife, this was it. But I can guarantee you this is 100% real.
And my favorite moments, I mean, there's so many of them. I had a hard time choosing, but I was fascinated a lot this year by penguins, and with earlier in the year, let's say like June, July, especially, we were able to see a pair of African penguins at the Stony Point Center in South Africa. They raised two chicks there. And this is a critically endangered species, too, with only a few thousand birds remaining in the wild. Chick mortality can be high in this species, so I was steeling myself for the death of one or more chicks. Thankfully, that wasn't necessary. Both African penguin chicks survived the rearing stage and entered the sea, and we wished them luck. And we saw that they were just doing really, really well outside of their little nesting cave there. They, especially in the later stages, before they went into the water, they would just constantly harass their parents for food. And it seemed like a lot of hard work for mom and dad to keep them well fed. But this wasn't the only wild penguin family that we've watched this year. In fact, Brian, I think we need to talk about another one before we get to the top 5 moments in our countdown. I think we need to bring back our Egg Watch segment.
Yeah, definitely. With new cams, we have new nests all over the world and nesting at different times. So let's take a look at some of our new Argentina cams.
Yeah, so this is our December 15, 2025 edition of Egg Watch. It is either the earliest or latest Egg Watch that we've ever done on the program, because we're introducing nests off of the Atlantic coast of Argentina, where it's really high summer now. It's probably only like 15 degrees outside Fahrenheit where I am, and the wind is blowing pretty hard. So it's kind of cold. You get to see the other end of the world where things are in the middle of summer. Really great to watch. So we'll start with our Magellanic penguins. These are all of our bird nests currently in Argentina are at Patagonia Azul Provincial Park. This is a species that nests in coastal areas of southern Argentina, Chile, in the Falkland Islands. They eat small fish, also cephalopods, some crustaceans, and they breed in colonies, although our camera is focused basically just on one nest right now. They'll either nest in burrows or under vegetation. This is a vegetation nest right here. The male penguin has a white spot above his tail. He also has two thick bands of feathers under his neck. So we're looking at footage of the male from this nest right here. The eggs, they were laid in mid-October, October 18 and 19, and then they hatched November 24 and November 25. And they, from what I've read, and I've never been able to watch wild penguins of this species before, but from what I've read, the chicks can leave the nest area after about 3 weeks after they hatch.
Oh,
So
wow.
we may just have a little bit of time left watching them in the nesting area. What they'll do afterwards is they'll form a creche with other young penguins in the colony. So basically like a nursery area where they're all sort of hanging out together. And then they go into the water after about 80 days after hatching. And then our other cameras that we're watching out in this area happen to be southern giant petrels. This is a species that breeds primarily in the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans, as well as extreme southern South America and also parts of Antarctica. They're primarily carrion eaters, although they'll sometimes feed on live food as well. They usually lay one egg per nest. An incubation lasts about 60 days, and then the chicks fledge after about more than 100 days after they hatch. So I think we're going to have a long time watching birds at this colony here. And finally, the other birds that we want to introduce you to are the imperial cormorants. This is a subspecies that we're watching right here that's restricted to southern South America. Imperial cormorants are found in different areas, but this subspecies that we can watch here is restricted to southern South America. They're a diving bird. They feed on fish, crustaceans, cephalopods, and polychaetes. Polychaetes are marine worms. And then they incubate their eggs for about a month. The chicks began hatching right around December 6 and 7, I think, give or take a few days on either end of that. So there are chicks in these nests right now. And then they fledge after about 2 months. So lots of time to watch those birds. And we want to thank our webcam partner, Rewilding Argentina, for bringing us footage of these birds. So new birds to watch, new birds to learn from. It's going to be a fun, I think, winter season for me to get to see some warm weather birds doing their thing here and elsewhere. But Brian, I think we should get back to the countdown because we still have 5 more to go. And remember that animals are individuals, just like each person is unique. And number 5 in the countdown, Brian, I think is a bit of a reflection of that because it's a bear whose personality was on display last summer.
Definitely. So we're heading back to Katmai National Park, where, of course, Mr. 602, also known as the Flotato.
Yeah, 602, he is a full-grown adult male who became one of the most frequently seen bears at Brooks River in 2025. And, remember moment number 9? We talked about the abundance of salmon. Well, you can draw a straight line between that moment and this one here. Abundant food gave 602 good reason to remain at Brooks River. He couldn't turn away from the opportunity to feast and lounge in the river. With his large size and high level of dominance, I mean, he was one of the absolute largest bears on the river, no matter how you wanted to measure it. But he could eat when he wanted, he could sleep where he wanted, and he seemed to enjoy napping in the river rather than retreating to the seclusion of the forest. He also seemed to enjoy being surrounded by fish. So on warm days, his fishing bouts were punctuated by these lounging behaviors that inspired people to call him the Flotato and reminded me of Homer Simpson relaxing in a pool. And again, it all comes back to the sheer abundance of sockeye salmon at Brooks River in 2025. The amount of food available to bears released the bears from food competition. We can only make educated guesses about their mental state under such conditions, but the play that we saw between bears and the overall relaxed nature of their behaviors tells me that the bears felt good. If 602 were a person, we would say that he was relaxed and having fun in this situation. We hope that 6002 and all the bears are hibernating well right now. Webcams of wild animals often capture the humorous moments, the surprising, the unexpected. And number 4 actually might be footage of an eaglet's surprising first encounter with a squirrel.
That's right. Coming in at number 4, we have from the Trempealeau Eagle's Nest, little T3 being harassed by a squirrel.
Yeah, so this takes place at the Trempealeau Eagle's Nest in Trempealeau, Wisconsin. Our partner for this is the Raptor Resource Project. This is from April 28, 2025. A gray squirrel entered the nest and encounters TE3, who's only a few weeks old here. The TE3's behavior indicates that she felt threatened. You can kind of see her puffing up, trying to look large. Squirrels, I can't really be sure of the squirrel's motivation here, but we know that squirrels are curious. We know that they're bold. They're good at solving problems. If anybody's actually tried to ever put out a supposed squirrel-resistant or squirrel-proof bird feeder, you know that squirrels defeat them all the time. So they're bold, they're curious. They can also eat small bird eggs and nestlings of songbirds. I think TE3 was much too large for the squirrel to pose a serious threat. What I'm not sure of, again, is the squirrel's motivation. Could have just been feeling curious or playful or mischievous. Nevertheless, the squirrel's agility and quickness really gave it the advantage as it investigated the nest and kept TE3 on alert. So that was one that people had talked about for a long time after we saw it happen. And Brian, the Eagle cams this year were full of stories and moments of learning, moments of hardship and competition, as well as triumphs of commitment and success. And our next moment contains elements of all of those things.
Definitely. We're coming back to the Sauce's nest, and after so many failed eggs, Jack and Audacity did have a successful hatch.
Yeah, so moment number 3, the Sauce's egg hatching, that's really intertwined with number 6 in our countdown. So we saw, again, footage earlier of Betty Lou, the chick here. This is maybe just like the morning of Betty Lou hatching, or just right after that. So these two moments, number 3, number 6, they're entwined in our countdown. They took place at Jack and Audacity's Sauce's Canyon Nest on Santa Cruz Island in Channel Islands National Park. The Institute for Wildlife Studies is our webcam partner there. To understand why this was so memorable, let's take a step back and consider that eagles at the Sauce's Canyon territory, Jack and Audacity, they've struggled to incubate eggs successfully during the last several years. While 2 of their 3 eggs broke in the nest last spring, I was wondering if that trend would continue. So let's recap the story of determination and success at the Sauce's nest.
On Santa Cruz Island in Channel Islands National Park, California, the bald eagles, Jack and Audacity, hold claim on the remote nesting territory we know as Sauce's Canyon. In many ways, this is an ideal spot for bald eagles. The nest is isolated from human disturbance. Predators and competitors, such as golden eagles, are absent, and the nearby ocean offers abundant food. Yet Jack and Audacity know uncertainty and hardship. Nesting failures have been common for them. In 2017, for example, Audacity laid 8 eggs, all of which broke shortly after being laid or during incubation. 1 or more eggs from this pair have broken in their nest almost every year since. Through it all, however, they've remained dedicated to their territory and offspring. It is a determination and commitment that has allowed them to find success. Bald eagles disappeared from the Channel Islands in the 1960s due to DDT contamination. The current bald eagle population in the archipelago is descended from a restoration effort implemented between 2002 and 2006. Audacity and Jack hatched in captivity at the San Francisco Zoo's Aviation Conservation Center. Jack was brought to Santa Cruz Island in 2005 as an 11-year-old bird. Audacity arrived on the island in 2006. Jack began nesting at the Sauces territory in 2011. Audacity joined him partway through the 2013 nesting season. Their nest attempts failed in 2014 and 2015, foreshadowing the challenges they'd continue to face. Although Audacity and Jack successfully raised an eaglet in 2016, Audacity's eggs seemed to suffer from an unusual fragility. During the 2020 through the 2024 nesting seasons, 20 of their eggs failed to hatch, and they were only able to raise one eaglet during that time. Their prior failures did not undermine their determination during the 2025 season, even as they lost 2 eggs to breakage shortly after they were laid. Hope for the pair rose when a 3rd egg from the same clutch proved durable. Anticipation among Audacity and Jack's human fans built with each passing day, until an eaglet, later nicknamed Betty Lou, revealed themselves on March 14th. 77 days later, on May 29, Betty Lou took flight for the first time. Why do Audacity and Jack experience such high rates of egg failure? They are experienced adult birds, and their eaglets have a very high survival rate. So we can likely rule out parental inexperience or mistakes. Perhaps Audacity is hormonally or genetically predisposed to producing eggs with thin shells. Perhaps she's more susceptible to the lingering effects of DDT contamination in the ocean off the coast of Southern California. Perhaps she and Jack experienced a unique stroke of bad luck. No one knows for sure, but we do know that other eagle pairs in the area do not experience broken eggs at the same frequency as Jack and Audacity, despite much overlap in the diets of bald eagles in the Channel Islands. Bald eagle populations in the United States have soared during the last 20 years, and they are no longer classified as threatened or endangered. Because of this, it would be easy to forget that we came very close to losing bald eagles completely in most of the United States. In the early 1960s, the contiguous 48 states were home to fewer than 500 breeding pairs, and none remained in the Channel Islands. Their recovery can be credited to protections granted by the Endangered Species Act and other legislation, the banning of DDT in Canada and the United States, as well as the work of many individual people and organizations. Their presence on the Channel Islands is a hallmark of conservation success. We don't know what eagles experience in their minds as they bond with their partners, defend their territory, and raise their young. But the determination that they display toward those efforts is admirable. Bald eagles must reproduce within a finite window of time each year. When the nesting attempt fails, they may need to wait nearly a whole year before trying again. Jack and Audacity demonstrate perseverance and commitment no matter the hardships they face. Their youngest offspring, Betty Lou, is proof.
Betty Lou was the first eaglet fledged at the Sauces nest since 2021. So congratulations to this family. The hard work and determination of Jack and Audacity really paid off this year. And I enjoyed watching that story play out. We asked, remember earlier, people to share some of their favorite moments, whether they were, in our top 10 list or not. Had a few of them coming in. I'll be looking for more of those as we head into the top 2 this year. But Baroness von Sploot wrote in and said, I have to mention the cathartic moments with those beautiful sunrises and sunsets on all of the cams. Perfect way to start the day and also end the day. Yes, absolutely. So depending on where you are, you can easily, I think, find a sunrise or a sunset on the cams, Brian, because late morning for me is basically like sunset in Africa. So I can watch that, or I can go to a different spot in North America and watch the sunrise come up.
Definitely.
And then Jess is not normal wrote in and said, watching 909 on the lip was my first experience I really had on the bear cams since I just joined this year. So though it's not just one moment, that would probably be my biggest thing of the year. And yeah, so I would agree with that. You know, sometimes you just kind of turn on the bear cams almost like a lot of people just turn them on out of curiosity. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, there's a bear doing something pretty amazing. I've never seen that before. And I like to think of a lot of the well-known bears at Brooks River as gateway bears. Like you get to know 909, or you get to know Grays, or you get to know Chunk, you get to know 602, and you want to know more and more about those individuals and bears in general. So thanks for sharing those moments with us. Please post more of them in the comments if you have something you want to share about your favorite moments that you saw on Explore.org this year. We'll try to share a few of those in a few more minutes. Brian, though, you know, when I talk about animals, I do see things in them like determination, hard work, resilience. Those are valuable survival traits shared among many species. And these qualities are valuable also in the face of pain and injury, which brings us to number 2 in our countdown.
Brings us to number 2, and it was actually my gateway bear. We have 32 Chunk and his resilience this year with his broken jaw.
The injury, the recovery, the resilience of bear 32 Chunk at Brooks River in Katmai National Park is the moment that, let's see, looking at vote totals, more than 7,000 people voted for collectively. This is one of the biggest vote totals we've ever had in this event. It's you know, Chunk is one of the river's most dominant bears, although he suffered a severe injury in early summer. So we got to see him deal with it. We got to see him persevere through it. We got to see him recover through it as well. And we want to share a little bit more about his story. So here it is.
Say hello to Bear 32, otherwise known as Chunk. He has been one of the most dominant bears at Brooks River in Katmai National Park during the last 10 years. Chunk was never more dominant at the river than he was in summer 2024. His size and assertiveness allowed him nearly free access to his most preferred fishing spots. Few bears ever considered challenging him. By the end of the year, he was a giant who likely weighed 1,200 pounds or more. Dominance in the hierarchy at Brooks River is something that must be earned. Large body size, the ability to communicate through posturing, and fighting skills are attributes needed by bears to maintain a high rank. But even the largest bears face considerable competition and risk. Chunk arrived in June 2025 with a broken jaw. He also had a fresh subdermal wound on one of his feet and new wounds on his upper body. No person observed how Chunk was injured. The timing strongly suggests that it happened in a fight with another bear. Salmon had not yet arrived in the Brooks River area, yet June is the peak of the brown bear mating season. In any given year, most female bears are not available for mating. Mothers caring for cubs do not experience an estrus cycle. Adult females without cubs are usually widely dispersed on the landscape, and they may be receptive to mating for only short periods of time. This often forces male bears to compete for limited mating opportunities. Fights between male bears in these situations can be violent and intense. It is a risk that can expose bears to serious injury. In a fight, a bear frequently bites and twists with their mouth and targets the head and face of their rival. Fighting bears sometimes bite each other's jaws at the same time. The strength and torque applied can be so great that a bear can break the mandible of an opponent. The question remains, can Chunk recover? During the last few weeks, the answer has become more clear. He remains a very large bear, and his body size alone will ensure that he can remain a highly dominant individual. His injuries seem to have no effect on his ability to catch fish. Chunk remains a skillful angler. He's adapted his eating style to chew using the left side of his jaw. Abundant salmon at Brooks River have also given him easy access to high-calorie, easily digestible food. He needs that energy to recover and gain additional body mass. His jaw will never heal properly. It is a permanent disability for one of Brooks River's largest and most successful bears. Despite his injuries, however, Chunk has demonstrated his resiliency. He possesses the energy and motivation to continue to court female bears. He's eating a lot of fish. He maintains a high rank in the hierarchy. Chunk is also well positioned to gain the fat reserves necessary to survive winter hibernation. Wild bears experience difficulty in many parts of their lives. Chunk's story illustrates the risks that bears take and their resiliency in the face of challenge.
In the time between that video's creation in late July and the last time we saw Chunk in October at Brooks River, his jaw injury continued to heal. He continued to gain body fat. He looked really good at the end of the summer. He'll be challenged forever by the jaw injury, but he has the qualities, the skills, the intelligence to survive for many more years. And again, it was wonderful to watch overall. I'm looking forward to seeing how Chunk's story plays out next summer. So hopefully he is hibernating quite well right now. A few more audience moments to share with everybody before we move on to our number one moment of the year. Beergit wrote in and list on Exploded.org and listed a few favorite moments. Beergit also had some links to some clips of those as well. So Beergit wrote 910, enjoying being single again, best friends forever, 806 and 503, renewing their friendship, and 856, trying to look cool. Those are all, great things to check out and remember. And then we had DMM CHUGH saying 32 Chunk, the Fat Bear 2025 Fat Bear champion. Brian, that was a moment that people could vote for, right? He did not make the top 10, but I think this is the biggest Fat Bear week ever.
It was definitely the biggest and fattest, and definitely congratulations to Chunk for making it after his loss last year being number 2, but he pulled it off this year.
Yeah, he was always runner-up until this year. So Chunk doing really well, and that story I think resonated with so many people that might have pushed him over the top. And then Dana Barnhart wrote in and said, thank you. After years of watching, I spent 2 days at Brooks and saw my girl Grazer. Magical. So that we're so glad that people are able to maybe get those experiences in person too, maybe discovering a place through the webcams and then looking to visit that place in person. Brooks River is a very magical place. So I'm glad that you have that experience. And then finally, Jack's mom wrote in and said 89's dance moves in the spit was a great moment. What Jack's mom is referring to here is another brown bear at Brooks River, number 89. He's also nicknamed Backpack. I think he was being a little playful when he was trying to court a female at the edge of the river mouth in the early summer. So that was fun to watch as well. So thanks to everybody who shared their moments with us. But we went through 9. We need to get down to number 1, and we witnessed a lot of drama in 2025 on Exploded.org's webcams. It was simply put wildlife living wild lives. Brian, our number one moment, as voted by the webcam fans of Exploded.org, is a story of overcoming unexpected challenges.
That moment for number one is, of course, little T3 fledging from the Trempealeau eagle nest.
Yes, this moment garnered or earned almost 8,000 votes in our competition this year. And again, this is in Trempealeau, Wisconsin. The Raptor Resource Project is our webcam partner. Wild animals often display behaviors that we find strange or confounding or mysterious. As our partners at the Raptor Resource Project noted in a recent blog post on their website, the nesting year for Mr. and Mrs. T, who hold this territory, began without surprises. 3 eggs were laid in the nest in early March. They began hatching on April 11. They finished hatching on April 17. TE3 was the first eaglet to hatch and the only eaglet to survive. After March 19, Mr. T began spending noticeably less time on the Trempealeau nest. As we discovered why, we began to understand the increasing challenges that Mrs. T faced to rear her offspring. An unusual set of circumstances imperiled the survival of the eaglets at this nest, and this is their story. So again, congratulations to Mrs. T and Mr. T and TE3 for fledging at that nest. It was a kind of an incredible story that a lot of us were attached to earlier in the year. There's still a lot of mystery associated with this event because it's hard to sort of explain Mr. T's behavior. And we certainly don't want to anthropomorphize what was happening there, because what it means for eagles is certainly different than how we would view it as human families or human nuclear families. But a working hypothesis to explain Mr. T's behavior is that the other nest in his territory had eggs hatch before the Trempealeau nest. He treated that nest as his primary nest, and that may have triggered him to treat the other nest, or to just basically to commit more attention to that other nest. Again, lots of mystery still surrounds this story. Mrs. T, she was also really tolerant of Mr. T removing fish from her nest. We don't exactly know why. We don't know why the female eagles in separate nests could share space so close to one another. But I'm looking forward to this nesting season and seeing if we can get any answers to those questions. But TE3 fledged on July 10. Maybe she is still utilizing the Mississippi River right now to make her living. And Brian, that is our top 10 list for 2025. Lot to revisit, and I think a lot to look forward to in 2026.
Definitely. It'll definitely be interesting to see how the Trempealeau nest happens next year, along with all the other live cams. So as Mike said, that was our whole list for the top 10 moments. Thank you everybody for voting for the top moments and celebrating with us. And looking ahead next year, we have way more live events coming up, including learning more from our new partners like the Macaw Recovery Network and Rewilding Argentina. And of course, we have many more live cams on the horizon. So come back and join next year. And before we conclude today, I do want to give a special thank you to our moderators and camera operators for really making the magic happen on Exploded.org. And of course, my co-host Mike Fitz for joining me today. And join us again for another episode next year. We'll be back on January 12th. And until then, happy exploring.